Hey Fitheads, today we talk with Tasha WOLF, and I'm super excited. We finally booked the person that is good at everything.
The wolf.
Oh my
She's even
goodness.
good at nicknames.
Yeah, right. Well, that was her mom.
Shout out to her mom, first and foremost.
She's a number one female in Washington State powerlifter, one of the top 20 female powerlifters in the world, but also trains other people, a mountaineer. She did bodybuilding. I didn't even know that. My research didn't even show me that.
Casual
Has a
bodybuilder.
degree in dance. What?
And archaeology. And she
Oh
was a
yeah.
boxer. And mountaineer. Did you say mountaineer?
Yeah.
And I mean, how much else, literally everything.
It's crazy. And I mean, what we talked about was so fascinating. And I learned a ton in many different directions.
Yeah, it was fun. A lot of I will say for the strongman fans, that strong human
Person,
fans out there.
individual.
We also, not to brag, but I sort of got a personal programming lesson. And you
Which
did too.
felt general. When she's giving you advice, I still learned from it. It was really cool to see her break down how she thinks about training and recovery and programming and periodization.
Right. I'm definitely going to start warming up now.
I'm definitely going to start recovering now.
Welcome to Total Fitheads.
Serious fitness for not so serious people.
Hey, Tasha, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good to be here.
So pumped to chat with you. Oh my God, hun.
Yes. Yeah. I just got pumped too, so it's good.
You're just coming off a workout right now?
Yeah. Just got
What
in
did
from
we
one.
do today?
Well, we know it's Monday, so International
Uh,
Bench Press Day. It was upper body for me, actually. I'm preparing for a strongman competition here in about 4 weeks, but I was working on a little bit of a strength day, so I had some upper body work to do. So I got some bench press and shoulder work and a lot of back work in today. Yeah.
oh, nice. Okay. Before
Yeah.
we dive into more of your splits, let's
Yeah.
give the fit heads a background on you. Can you just give us a quick intro bio, if you will?
Yeah. So my name is Tasha WOLF Whelan. I often go by Wolf. It is one of my like 6 middle names, but it's my favorite middle name. And so I prefer to go by Wolf. So I often go by Wolf, especially in strength sports when I'm competing. Currently, I am a director of strength and conditioning at a gym outside of Seattle. And I'm also the head strength and conditioning coach, as well as the personal trainer mentor on our team as well. So I also educate a lot on our team. My background is, at least academically, is diverse. So I actually have multiple degrees. I have a degree in cultural anthropology because I truly love humans and I really like to learn about different cultures. And especially in the area that I live in, there's a huge array of cultural backgrounds here. So I studied anthropology. I also got a degree in archaeology, which is a subdiscipline of anthropology, but I really like to dig and find out about the past. So I got some cool excavations in my past of digging up some different fishing villages and various things, pottery and all that stuff. And then I took it a little bit further and I have a degree in exercise science and athletic training, as well as dance. Now, I'll admit, I am the world's worst ballerina. I cannot dance like that. Oh my gosh, it's just terrible. But I can get down to some hip hop. So I was actually a competitive hip hop dancer in my early 20s, which was a long time ago now. Although I look young, but it was a while ago. So I've been a performance coach though for 20 years, a little over 20 years. So I've been in the game for quite a while and have, worked my way up into these higher management positions and educational roles. And I also am a master instructor for the Pain-Free Performance Certification course, which is created by Dr. John Russin. So I do a lot of different things and write for T Nation. And so I dabble in things.
And you're 800 years old. I don't know how that's possible otherwise.
But I look good for 800, right?
You
Terrific.
do.
Oh, yeah.
What's your morning routine?
Oh,
So you're the female dancing, powerlifting, Indiana Jones is what I've gathered.
Exactly. Yes. That was
Love
my
it.
dream. And I'm living my dream. So yes.
How cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
love it. All right, I want to jump back to the strongman stuff.
Yeah.
So you're competing in strongman now.
So yes, currently doing some strongman training. So I guess we can talk about my athletic background. Um, Athletically, I actually started off as a runner. I was known as track star Tasha growing up. I was fast. I could outrun everyone, basically. I mean, I ran for, I could run as fast as a wolf. I have a lot of records kind of growing up. I think my favorite record is probably in the mile. I actually broke a 5-minute mile when I was, must have been 15 or so years old. 4:56 was my record. Hit that once, sub 5 minutes. So long time ago. Again, I'm pushing 40 right now. So it's been a while for that. But I grew up running and then playing team sports, fast pitch, things like that. But then I moved into boxing and dancing as I got older. So I do have a boxing background. I actually have fake teeth made in Mexico. Fun fact, I actually flew to Mexico to get my teeth fixed because it's way cheaper in Mexico. So I got into boxing and dancing, and then I started doing bodybuilding. And because I was this scrawny little kid my entire life, super scrawny, tiny Tasha, and I just wanted to be big and muscular. And I was always drawn to women that were physically strong and looked really muscular. So I started putting on some weight, eating a lot of food, and I had put on, I think in my mid-20s, about 40 pounds of lean muscle. So again, I was very scrawny because I'm still kind of scrawny, but I put on a lot of weight.
What?
And then, so from bodybuilding, my personality doesn't fit with the stage stuff of high heels, lots of makeup, hair done. That kind of stuff was not really in my personality, although I'm a performer. I love to dance. I love to act. I love to do all that. But spending a lot of time building and changing my physique just to have people judge it and break it down, even though I put so much into it, it just was not appealing to me. So that's where I kind of turned to powerlifting, was to be more of a performance athlete into strength sports. So I actually got into powerlifting, and I've been a competitive powerlifter now for 10 years. And I worked my way up and became an international elite powerlifter. I actually won the International Powerlifting League World Championships in 2017 or 18. So got #1 in the world, which was a huge goal of mine. And I was actually able to achieve that, which was pretty cool. And then a friend of mine convinced me to do strongman. And they're like, you'd be really great at this. And I think you'd have a lot more fun because you have an athletic background. And while powerlifting is really cool, you squat, bench, and deadlift. And then you squat, bench, and deadlift, and squat, bench, and deadlift. And it's just the same 3 things, which is great fun. I love to be strong at those. But you kind of lose like a lot of that athleticism, right? Like the running, the conditioning, the cardio type of stuff. So I, kind of was like, yeah, let's dabble in strongman. And turns out I'm actually pretty good at strongman too. So kind of worked my way up, and I competed at the official strongman games last November. I took 11th in the world my weight class, which was really cool, but also kind of pissed me off because top 10 was like, you had to get top 10 to make it to the final day. Mm-hmm. And I was number 11 by 0.3 of a second. Ugh. And it's like almost worse, when you're that close. I'm like, I should have been like 15th. So at least you're like, I got some room to do. But when you're that close to like breaking into the top 10 in the world too, ooh, and then you don't do it. But so I've been working at strongman, and I intend to make that top 10 very soon. And then on top of that, I'm also a mountaineer. I like to climb mountains in my off season. So I know I'm weird. I just do stuff, but it's cool. So yeah, I do a lot of things. Yeah. So that's kind of my athletic background. Yeah.
Max, how do we attack this?
I don't know. I mean, I think it turns out I'm really good at it. Seems to be a running theme in your life, if I may.
Fair.
Oops.
I mean, oh no, look at that. I'm good at something, but yeah. To be fair, it's been a lot of work though, too. I mean, I've had to put a lot of a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of consistency and dedication into achieving all of these things, right? Like it's not that easy. People think, oh, you're just naturally good at things. I'm like, I've worked my ass off. And yeah, maybe I am naturally more inclined athletically than others, but I've still put in years and years and years of consistent dedication to achieving these goals and working at it. Yeah.
In terms of your, you feel like you're generally athletic, but when you pick up a new sport or a new, competition or something, what was the hardest for you to sort of translate your natural athleticism and then into, oh man, this sport is actually technically really tricky for me?
Yeah, that's a great question. Tricky question too. I think just trying to wrap my brain around the new movements too, especially with strongman. So
yeah, can you run us through a couple of events also?
Yeah, so okay, just to kind of give you an example of the one that I'm about to do in 4 weeks. So it's the Rainier Classic. It's a pro-am show. So they have, I mean, pro strongman come in from all over the country, even the world, to come into this one. And it's local in Washington State, which is nice because it's like 30 minutes away from where I live, which is beautiful. Normally you have to fly and travel these things. So this one's
which
nice.
I'm sure hinders your performance, right? Especially
Yeah,
if there's
absolutely.
a time change. Yeah.
So yeah, just to take a pause on this, when I was competing in the World Championships in Florida, I'm in Seattle, so I had to fly completely across country for this competition, but I flew into a hurricane. So that was when the hurricane was there too. So I get to my hotel. We like actually landed, made it to Florida, but our hotel, when we got in, they're like, we're closing down. We're evacuating everyone. We're like, you can't evacuate us. We have nowhere to go. So luckily, a hotel stayed open where most of the athletes were competing right in the middle of the hurricane. And there was a room because someone couldn't fly in and get it because their flights were canceled. So I actually got a room there, but our hotel room got flooded from the hurricane. I mean, it was like winds. We were like looking at the ocean, seeing this, and we're like opening up the blinds and water's just spraying in from the window. We're like, oh gosh, waves are crashing up. It like destroyed the outside of the hotel. We're like, I don't think we should be here now. So yeah, sometimes traveling for events can get spicy and a little scary. But anyway, so this one is local, which is going to be great. But so, for example, in this competition, I have a max log clean and press 4 reps in 60 seconds. I compete in the lightweight division, and a little on the scrawny side here.
Scrawny, yeah, okay.
Scrawny. Thank you. I like that you think that's a joke too, because I like to feel massive. But I mean, I weigh about 135 pounds, so I mean, pretty dainty, but strong as shit, which is great. So the log clean and press is 60 seconds at 135 pounds. So about my body weight. And then we have a max trap bar deadlift for 60 seconds at 345 pounds. And then we do sandbag throws over bar for distance and height. And then there's a max stone event. So it's basically last person standing on the stones, as heavy as you can possibly go on that. And then a keg clean and press. And then the last one is what they are calling a not CrossFit medley. Not CrossFit, although it's very much CrossFit. So it's assault bike for calories. You have to go all out for 15 calories on the assault bike, and then jump off the assault bike and pick up a heavy ass sandbag and run as many times as you can down and back for the remainder of the time. I mean, that's just, I'm going to freaking barf. Like, no doubt I'm going to barf on that. So again, thinking about these like transitions of like, okay, like what's uncomfortable? A lot of things in strongman are very uncomfortable because whereas in powerlifting, when I do the same thing over and over and over, I know what to expect. I've trained it for a decade plus. But then some of these events in strongman, you sometimes won't even have the right implements or equipment to train these. So you're like, well, shit, it's just going to be a guessing game. I'm just going to go in there for the best and hope I do okay. So sometimes that does happen to me in these competitions where I'm like, I've never even touched that. So, you know, whatever. Like the last competition I did, there was keg tosses over the bar. And people like, you want to warm up? I'm like, nah. I'm like, I've never done it. So we're just going to have fun and see what happens. I crushed it. I destroyed that one. I just threw them all over and they're like,
Juggling.
Who are you? Like, how did you just come here, just not even practice this and just throw all these kegs over? Meanwhile, all the other women were like missing it, struggling with it. And I'm just like, boom, boom, boom. And, you know, so again, sometimes my natural athleticism helps out a lot from years of growing up playing sports, but it can be very tricky when, again, like the max stone, I have a couple stones that I can play with, you know, but I only have 2 of them. Whereas in the competition, it will go up to, you know, 300 plus pounds. I'm like, I've never even touched that. So some things I just, again, hope for the best, but it can get tricky training when you don't have all the equipment available for you. So yeah.
A lot of trips to the liquor store. I need an extra keg. For training. And he's like, okay, hon.
Exactly. Oh, I love it.
That's a psychological aspect to that too, right? It's a different type of mental preparation.
Yes, absolutely. Mindset. So mindset's a huge thing for me. I'm a big proponent in training my mindset and doing a lot of visualization technique. A lot of people just think it's kind of fluff stuff, but it really, if you don't get your mind right during a competition, especially going into a national or world level competition, then you are going to have a very subpar performance. Like a lot of it really is mental performance, you know, like leading up to the competition, doing that positive self-talk, because we're our own worst critics, right? We get in our head and it can get so severe, right? You're like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do that. I can't achieve that. And if you say that stuff over and over, do you think you're going to be that successful at what you're trying to accomplish? The likelihood is much less of you achieving those goals. So you constantly visualize yourself being successful and not failing at something and having those positive outcomes, even mentally, the likelihood of you being more successful in real-time physical performance is going to increase. And I'm a firm believer in that. So I actually use that all the time, even in my off season. Yeah.
Max, did you do visualization stuff for wrestling? I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean,
that's kind of hot. Nice.
Nights before a match. Yeah, for sure. I would, okay, if he does this, I'm gonna do that, and okay, and then the second period I'm gonna start like that. Like it was very, I don't want to brag, I'm an excellent sleeper, but nights before a competition I would be up way later and I would just running through stuff through my head all the time, and it helped a lot. But I also did weird stuff where my room was it was a converted dance room, so we had a full mirror. So I would do stuff and I would just like stare at myself in the mirror, and everyone would be like, wow, this guy's super arrogant, isn't he? Super vain. And I'm like, no, it's just how I see it. Forget it. But you know, I think it helps a lot. It's very underrated because it is, if you know, all of a sudden you're doing it, you're like, whoa, this is just like I thought about last night, or you know, in my head yesterday.
Mm-hmm. I did that for the World Championships when I won. I literally visually saw myself winning it, you know, and I'm like, I figured I was an underdog. I didn't really have a shot. If I really thought about it, I'm like, no, I'm going to change that mindset. I'm like, I'm going to visualize myself winning it, being on top. I would hear it. I would see it. I'd see the judges, the crowd, the sounds, the smells, like everything. And then, you know, you do that over and over and over, and do that even in your training. And I won the World Championships. I'm like, damn, that works.
Just like I drew it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How does the crowd affect you on the platform or at a strongman event? Are you amped or are you nervous?
Yeah, both for sure. I mean, like I definitely get performance anxiety, and people get surprised with that. They just, the way I present myself is very confident, you know, and like, even, I mean, with other parts of my life too, people are like, yo, you're just so confident. I'm like, I'm not really, it's kind of fake. You just kind of, I don't want to say the fake it till you make it thing, because people say that, but you know, if you put on that front where you like appear to be confident, people will see you as more confident too. And then you become more confident. So it's kind of like this face you kind of put on, but the crowd does both excite me and terrifies me, you know, because for some things like deadlifting, my biggest pull was a 501.5 pound deadlift. So I'm a pretty big deadlifter. Deadlift is my favorite thing. But lifting that weight and bracing and with the belt on, and for a woman whose bladder sits right here, you're going to urinate. You know, the likelihood of that happening is very high. So then you think about that step and try not let that kind of stuff get in your head, knowing that like, oh man, this could happen. And in training, I've done that, and there'll be people standing there watching me, and I will drop the weight and just not finish it because I'm too embarrassed because, oh man, I just started peeing on the ground. And then I had to get over that because it's a very common thing for competitive lifters or athletes, right? And especially for women too, especially for women that have children, et cetera, et cetera. So I just kind of had to mentally prepare myself for like, it's okay. You suck it up and you keep pulling. You don't let that stop you because you have a goal, and it would be your own self-sabotage if you just let it go because you started peeing. Who cares? Yeah, I peed, whatever, but I still made the damn lift. So that's even cooler than peeing. So no one remembers the pee because they remember the lift.
That's even cooler and peeing is pretty cool. Like,
I mean, it could be.
It's already a high bar. We gotta.
I mean, R. Kelly thinks it's cool.
Yeah, sure.
Oh no. Oh my
That's
goodness.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, there's that like public watching element in bodybuilding too. I didn't even know that you did that. That part of it is crazy. So when you're talking about the female stereotype look, I totally relate to that. And I would never feel comfortable being on stage and putting on heels and doing my hair and that whole thing. Do you feel like that's necessary, that's really expected in that sport? And if I tried to do it in Vans and pulled up socks, it would just not fly? Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I absolutely believe it. Yeah, especially at higher levels of bodybuilding too. I mean, there's a lot of politics in it, like a ton. Like, and that's why it's like they'll have their favorites too. And if you're very successful, they'll kind of see that and kind of gauge things differently. And it's just too much of a beat down for me to like, again, I'm not going to work so hard in the gym and sacrifice, make all these sacrifices, you know, and people do that, right? You have to sacrifice in some regard to get to, you know, those levels of competition. But then is it really worth it when you work so hard and put so much into it, so much time, money, effort, energy, sacrifices, just for them to be like, your shoulders aren't capped enough, or your glutes are a little saggy, your calves are still scrawny, you know, like picking you apart. It's just like, you know, I'd rather perform. I'd rather feel good in my body and be proud of my performance rather than feel like even more shit when someone else or all these people are literally judging me and saying I'm not good enough, you know. So, but yeah, I think that it would, I mean, I would actually challenge you, Ali, to go to a bodybuilding competition, enter one, and wear some chucks and some tall socks and I don't know, some booty shorts and a sports bra, and just be like, let's go. What do you got?
Let's
look at
go.
me. You know?
The
And then let me know what they say.
I can pull that off if I had the physique. Now I have to get at their level to then flip the script. Okay, fine. Thank you for the challenge. I'll work on it.
Nice. I'm excited about this. You let me know when it's going to take place, and I will fly there and I will support you and root you on.
Solid. I got one cheer from the audience.
Well, one, and then we can, if I write an A on my chest, you can do an L. We just need to find an I, and then we're in business. You know what I mean?
There we go. That's perfect. We got you.
It's fine. My stage name is Al. I don't need any more friends.
Wolf is taken.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, and I imagine the food-wise, the prep is much more fun with powerlifting than with bodybuilding.
Oh yeah, I can eat like, oh yeah, cutting's not the fun thing, and I like kind of being on the smaller side because I can kind of eat up into classes, especially powerlifting. Top of my weight class is 148. And again, I usually sit at like 135, 140. So I'm like, nice, try to eat so I can get as high up on that weight class as I can. Now for strongman, I have to be at 140. So I kind of maintain my weight, eat up a little bit, and then I might cut a couple pounds, which is easy, not too bad to do. So yeah, but eating wise, yeah, much different. I just basically eat whatever, which is great.
Solid.
Yeah.
I've never asked anyone in strongman about this. Is there any sort of contention about the name, that the word man is in it? Really?
Yes. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of competitions now are saying strong man and strong woman competitions, and women will often refer to it as strong woman training or whatever. I still just strong man, whatever. It's strong man stuff, but
strong individual.
Yeah. Strong people competitions, you know. Yeah. So there is some kind of backlash on that, just because like, okay, what about the women? Well, it's also strong women, you know, it's just like the whole idea of where kind of people are sensitive about the word guys now. Like if I'm like, hey guys, how are you? Right. So it's kind of a weird thing. I mean, there's a lot of verbiage out there that we have to be a lot more mindful of these days. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
It's tough. I will say for the record, my mom called me dude one time. I was like, yeah, bro. that was our exchange. So I think it varies for people.
that's how did your mom feel about you calling her bro?
She was like, you're late. I'm like, okay, well, sorry. Whatever. You know, it didn't even
just brushed it off, didn't even
phase
her.
her. I don't think she realized. I didn't even realize it until like a year later. I was like, wait a minute, hold on, what just happened?
That's awesome. Oh man.
It's funny, we talk about, me and Allie talk about 1 rep maxes all the time. We sort of go back and forth on, I think they're for the normal-ish athletic person, they might not be great. But you seem like that's a focus of yours. Or at least it has to be sort of in your wheelhouse. You have to sort of, you know, reach back and throw the fastball every once in a while. How often are you doing a full, true, I guess, 1 rep max, or do you like sort of build up to it the way a marathon runner sort of, you know what I mean? Like they don't run a full marathon every day. They do like steps like that, or how do you approach that?
Yeah. So periodization for sure. So I know a lot of people think that because I'm a power lifter, I'm like, that's all I do. It's like 1 rep maxes on everything.
Yeah,
I'm like,
well,
I rarely do a 1 rep max. Like it really is. I might do a top set where it's like, oh, I might do a top 2 or top 3, top 5 or something. I usually don't do true 1 rep maxes unless I'm very close to competition day in powerlifting, or if in strongman there is a 1 rep max event going on, which there is often in with deadlifts. But yeah, no, it's usually I will take a typically 16 to 20 week prep, and I will slowly go. So it's mostly more of a modified max effort. So, and that's how I kind of train people too. So whereas a max effort is that true 1 rep max, a modified max effort, I'm looking at more of that 2 to 5 rep range. And that's kind of where I put my focus on max effort training days. So yeah, it'll take me some time. I will build up from a preparatory phase or a GPP phase, depending on where I'm at. And I'll go through my block of that. And then I'll do an accumulation phase where I'm then increasing the volume and a little bit more of the intensity, but it looks more like hypertrophy on that. And then my next phase from there would be that like strength phase. And then maybe I go into like some power phase too. So it definitely kind of works up to it. I will definitely do a long gradual build, you know, just to make sure, you know, tissue tolerance is there, joint durability, make sure that I work on my work capacity and my weak links too. So a lot of things go into a really good periodized program. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of misstep on programming is the actual idea of periodizing it and going through these either blocks or phases of things. But it can also look different depending on goals too and what people are trying to achieve. But yeah, so it takes me some time to get there for sure. Yeah.
And how much of that are you like, giving that max effort or going to failure? Is it pretty common on your route there, or is that also towards the end of your training?
Yeah, towards the end of the training. So if I'm doing, let's say, a top 3, again, we'll say deadlift. If I'm doing a top 3 deadlift, I will definitely probably keep it to about an RPE if I'm doing RPE or percentage, RPE of 8 to 9, like leaving 1 to 2 reps in the tank. Sometimes just so I don't go to true fatigue or even technical failure, I try not to fail. So I don't want my body to get used to failing. If I'm like trying to grind it out and I miss lifts a lot, my body's going to remember that. And then it's just it's going to be harder for me to actually be successful when I want to achieve that rep. Right. So I tell people like, don't fail these lifts. And I teach a lot of strength classes and I do all these things. I'm like, don't fail it. Don't fail it. Unless the goal is to go to fail and fail, like in hypertrophy, right? So my hypertrophy phases, but they aren't going to be necessarily deadlift. I'm not going to just kind of rep out until I'm grinding and then I completely just crash and fail on these. But if in my hypertrophy phase, I'm trying to go intentionally to true failure, which is okay to do sometimes, I will rep out. And then you get to that point where you're like, no more, right? And then you're done. And that's okay for that phase of what I'm looking to achieve. I want to do that sometimes, but when I'm looking for my true max, I really try not to fail it, because I don't want my body to get used to like, oh, you keep failing it at your knees every time. And then I just kind of, like muscle memory, right? It's almost just like, oh, now you're going to fail, even if you don't want to. I'm going to make you fail because you kept failing. So it might even be psychological. I don't know, but it messes with people so much that they will continue to fail. So I say, don't fail. Leave at least one rep in the tank so you have somewhere to go, right? So it helps me out a lot. Yeah.
I've never thought about it that way, that going to failure is training the mechanics of failing. And you don't want to teach your brain that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Max.
It could just be very psychologically, it could psychologically mess with someone so much that they will continue to fail the same weight, the same reps, whatever, if they constantly are trying that. Because, right, you fail. It's like, no, hold on, give me 2 minutes. I'm going to do it again. And then you're failing again. No, I'm going to try it one more time. And do you get it? No, I mean, more often than not, unless it's a misstep on that rep, right? Where it's like, oh man, my grip was off or my stance was off, and that caused you to fail. Then it's like, let me redo that. Let me take a few minutes and then actually take a moment to set up properly and then execute it. And if you get it, then it's like, okay, it was actually just your setup was the issue, right? But yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's like
change some things.
It's like beers, you don't want to puke. You want to get just at the edge, and then you're like, wow, this is terrific. I should stay here.
Yeah.
And then next time you can have one more, and that's
I don't want to progressively overload everything. You know what I mean?
Progressive overload, it's a thing. It helps. I'm kind of curious to know what kind of training you two are doing right now, if I can ask. Like, what do your trainings look like? Yeah, Max. How's your training looking?
Classic bro splits.
Nice.
I'm eating as much as I can. I've never actually tracked my diet. I wrestled in college, and so I tracked my diet very meticulously, on the low end. I try to be as light as possible all the time. All of my strength workouts were, I had to do, I wanted strength, but I needed, a lot of endurance also. And so I just tried to be light. And so I never ate anything. In the past couple of months, I've been playing around with actually eating a lot of more calories than I'm used to, and more protein than I'm used to. And so I'm feeling puffy. If we're being open and honest, but I'm, it's fun-ish, and it's not as hard or as weird as I thought it would be. And honestly, the weirdest thing was the tracking. I thought I was getting a certain amount of calories and protein, and when I actually really started writing it down and tracking it, I was way lower than I thought I was. I was wildly inaccurate in my own.
On protein,
it took him
specifically
both.
No, and calories.
Okay, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
It took him 3 months to get up to my intake. He was eating less than me for a very long time, and then it took him 3 months of coming up till he matched me. I think he's surpassed me now.
Curious, what's your current body weight?
5'10", 201.
201. And what are you trying to get to?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's fair.
But I've never been above 200 pounds until 3-4 weeks ago. My whole life I was, and the last 10 years, I was probably around between 185 and 195.
So hence the puffy feeling?
Yes, and I'm
you're big.
Full. I'm like, whoa, I'm enormous. This is awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a weird feeling. And Allie was always talking about gainer shakes and all these, just spooning Greek yogurt. And I'm like, you don't need to do that. And now I'm doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So it's a little humbling. For sure. It's humbling.
Yeah. So do you feel like you're going to put on some size and then make a cut, or?
Yeah, I think that's the approach. I've never tried it before. I figured, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like a fun thing, a fun summer hobby or whatever.
Yeah. I like
fun timing.
And I've never really done that before. I always sort of, I ate until barely satiated because I was always sort of used to like, whoa, man, don't overeat because you're gonna have to work it off at the next practice or whatever. And
Right.
even weighing in, I weigh in every day, and
Mm-hmm.
I tell people that they think I'm a lunatic. I'm like, you just get used to it. It's just a certain sort of different lifestyle.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So as you're training, then are you doing like the body part splits? Like do you do your like quads, you break it up in muscle groups, or how do you do that?
It's funny. I wrote my own program, and it was push-ish day, pull-ish day, legs-ish day,
I like this.
deadlift-ish day.
Yeah.
And then I got an app, and it was funny. They did all of my push exercises, but were a little bit more staggered. So I used to do a day of decline bench, regular bench, incline bench, overhead press, that sort of thing.
Right.
And now they've sort of broken up. So I still do all those four, but on different days of the week. Some are in pairs and some are here and there. And so that was a really weird approach for me. And I like it. I don't like it more or less than the other. But I was always sort of, I don't know, I guess my high school bro gym class weight room education was today's push day. That's it. Or chest, not even push day, chest day.
Chest. Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll do calves, or like upper calves, and I'm like, oh, that sounds great, But yeah, so now it is, but it's all of the ones that I have, all of the exercises that I had just sort of sprinkled in different days, which is in the beginning, it was weird because I used to have that feeling of like, man, I just torched my back. I can't do anything. It's great. I have 3-4 days before I even touch it again. And now everything's sort of like, I don't know. I'm just like constantly a little sore, which is, I don't feel bad about, but I'm like, this is weird, but I don't know. It's going, that's my current.
What kind of rep scheme do you use for this? Like how I'm really new.
It has gone, it started around reps of 10 to 15, and now I'm down to reps of 4 to 6 on almost everything. I tried to, like RP, like 8-ish, 9-ish, or sometimes actually, no, that's not true. Sometimes I just go full fail. And it's odd because there were days when I just wouldn't like break a sweat. And that was super weird for me because my classic workout was focused on sweat almost. Like you have to sweat out a couple of pounds or it doesn't count as a real workout. And so it's fun. It's weird. I can tell the odd thing for me is like if I have a pizza the night before, I feel my lifts go up a ton and I'm like, that's crazy. That feels like it shouldn't affect me that much at all. And it really does. Or if I like forget to eat a meal or something and I'm suddenly like way lower than I should have been the day before, then my energy is lower and the strength, like everything affects everything.
Have you ever tried 6, 12, 25 method for hypertrophy?
No.
Or do you know much about it?
No.
I feel like you would really like that. It would be like a nice little change up for you. So do you know the mechanisms of hypertrophy? Right. We have 3 mechanisms of hypertrophy, mechanical tension. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So metabolic stress and muscle damage. So metabolic waste and all that. So those 3 mechanisms obviously create a hypertrophic effect in the body. So if you're thinking about 6, 12, 25, so if you were, let's say, for example, on Monday, it's chest day. You want to build your chest. You could hit
Got in the dark here.
Yes.
For example.
So, for example, just saying, we'll put it out there if you want to build your chest. So if you were doing like a heavy sets of 6 bench press for mechanical tension. So mechanical tension meaning heavy loads. You want to get some kind of heavy load in there to kind of elicit that need of stress and demand on the body. So sets of 6, I mean, you could even go down 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there, but generally speaking, we'll say sets of 6. And then follow that up with a set of 12, let's say cable chest flies, right? So you can get a little bit more of that muscle damage, and then metabolic waste or metabolic stress at higher reps of like 25. So maybe you're doing sets of deficit push-ups for sets of 25, or the flies could be 25 and push-ups could be sets of 12, depending on skill and strength abilities. But those three, you're hitting the same muscle group at a heavy mechanical tension load, and then sets of 12 on a different movement, and then 25 to get really kind of that metabolic stress and the metabolites and everything kind of going. So you get that pump feeling. If you do that in circuits, that will like literally, like you do 3 circuits of 6, 12, 25 or something like that, boom, workout's done. You can do that on upper body days, lower body days, 4 days, something like that. Like that's kind of a fun block. When we talk about kind of blocks and periodization, stuff like that, like do a 4-week block of 6, 12, 25. Super fun. It's like a cool way to do it. Shout out to my buddy, Jason Brown. If you know of Jason Brown, box programming. So you should look up Jason Brown. He's great. He's one of like the best programmers out there, especially for conditioning styles, but he is really big on 6, 12, 25, has a lot of information out there. He just released a book too recently, but great information there. That kind of style though would be kind of a fun little implement into your training blocks right now, just for fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I saw you do something like that on your Instagram where you would do like a heavy and then but I think you called it like a power or explosive version.
Oh, so
of it.
Contrast training?
French contrast also.
Yeah.
Yes, French contrast is super fun. So that really kind of taps into the force velocity curve, right? So where you're getting into that maximal strength, speed, power, speed, strength. So you're kind of hitting multiple areas or elements on the force velocity curve. So French contrast would be great to develop athletic performance, muscular hypertrophy, strength, anything like that. It would be super fun. So another great block. So you could do 6, 12, 25 for 4 weeks, and then French contrast for 4 weeks on your main movements and stuff like that. It would be a solid way to build an 8-week program right there, just off of those methods. All right. So yeah, French contrast is pretty fun for sure. You should try it.
It does look pretty cool. That
It is.
what it's power and strength, and you're saying hypertrophy too?
Yeah, so you can get
Wow.
hypertrophic effects from that, absolutely. Because even at the lower range of movements, I mean, again, because we're talking about the 3 mechanisms of muscular hypertrophy, but you're tapping into mechanical tension, right? Because you're lifting a heavier load. So again, that French contrast, we're looking at that. Again, we can use bench press because it's Monday. It's just gonna be all the examples here, but a heavy set of bench press. I typically do kind of 2 to 3 reps on that at fairly heavy. I mean, it's probably 90+% on those. And then you follow that up by maybe a plyometric push-up at an incline, something like that for 5 to 8 reps. And then I might follow that up with an explosive sled shove or med ball chest toss to the ground. Again, maybe about 5 reps there, and then follow that up with an overspeed movement. So I will do a band assisted on my hips plyo push-up. So you get that assistance, so you get extra speed coming into that. So those 4 things, those 4 movements work. It's the same muscle group or region, right? And you're just doing those, taking about 30-second rest in between each of those, and then 2 to 3 minute rest in between the giant circuit there, and do that 3 to 4 times. And that's a solid start. And maybe you throw in a few accessories. That'd be great. It's a solid training day.
Interesting. It does sound almost counter to what I've heard before, where people will say, oh, you have to have a speed block and you have to have a strength block and you have to have, hypertrophy, and they can't all happen simultaneously. But
You can definitely do train those elements all at once. I think there's a lot of confusion with programming and like, oh no, it has to all be separated, like, oh, you're going to be working at only sets of 12 on everything, or 3 sets of 10 on every single exercise you do. And it doesn't really make sense. So like, think about, let me give you an example of kind of how my training block looks right now. So I train 6 days a week right now. 4 of my days are strength focused. So, excuse me. I have 2 max effort days. So a max effort upper day, a max effort lower day. And then I have 2 dynamic effort days. So where I'm working at more of that speed, the lighter weights, right? Because you can't continue to build strength or lift really, really heavy unless you can lift really fast too. So you need to get the speed elements in there. So 2 max effort days, 2 dynamic effort days. for the speed. And then my 2 other days are conditioning, because I want to bring up my conditioning, work my cardiovascular system too. And especially with strongman training, I need to be conditioned because we do a lot of like yoke carries, farmer carries, stuff like that, where there's heavy loads, but you got to move it as fast as possible. And then I'll take like an active recovery day where I might just be walking or doing some type of warm up to keep my body kind of warmed up, loose, and feeling pretty good. But you can absolutely bring up strength qualities, hypertrophy qualities, and conditioning all in the same training block. Now, it might look different through different methods that you use. And again, that's where periodization comes in too. But you can definitely throw all of that in your training program for sure.
So within the same block and even within the same workout?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good, because so let's say, for example, my max effort, we'll switch it to lower body.
I was gonna say
we won't do bench because we'll just switch it. So maybe max effort squat day. So my lower body day, I might start with let's say a top set of 3 box squats with 80 pounds of chains, because I like accommodated resistance. It's fun. I kind of like a little bit of a conjugate style training. It's much more enjoyable. So top 3 box squat with chains. And then I might do a secondary movement to accommodate that. So I might switch the bar out to a safety squat bar and do some pause squats after that for maybe a little bit more repetition effort. So now I'm looking at maybe 3 sets of 5. So I want to get a little bit more volume in because I want to get some hypertrophic effect in there. But then my accessories, so my accessory circuits, maybe they're supersets or trisets, I will definitely push those into more of a hypertrophy training style. So I will do sets to failure. I will do drop sets, cluster sets, that kind of stuff, rest pause sets, anything where I can get a lot of volume in, because I still want to get strong as shit, but I also want to put some size on and keep my size too, or to maintain it. So yeah, so I focus on strength in there, and then a lot of hypertrophy. And then I might finish it with a little bit of conditioning, especially getting close to a strongman competition where I'm like, man, I got this damn not CrossFit medley coming up with the salt bike and the sandbag carry. So I'm like, I got to work on this because I know I lack a little bit with my anaerobic work capacity right now. So again, I'm trying to add that in almost to the end of majority of my sessions. I'm like, all right, 1 run, 15 calories on the salt bike, grab that damn sandbag, do 1 run, and finish it off. It's not going to be detrimental to my strength gains or my hypertrophy gains doing that. Now, if I were to sit there and do like 45 minutes of like kind of just grinding on cardio, then yeah, that might not be the best for my strength gains, but you can definitely train all of those elements and still bring them all up in the same workout, the same day. But again, periodization and understanding periodization will help with that, and where you're at in training and what your goals are, etc. Yeah.
Okay, great. That makes me feel a lot better about the programming that I'm doing.
Nice. Good. Oh, did you want to talk about your programming and tell us what you're doing right now?
Yes. Absolutely. Finally. That's I just been waiting since we said hi. No, just that I'm doing a push-pull legs thing. And every workout the beginning, I'm trying to do explosive stuff. So I'll do Olympic lifting, like a 10-minute EMOM. But then I'll move to strength things where 2-3 reps. And then I have accessories where I just burn out hypertrophy, 3 sets of 10 or whatever. And I'm wondering if I'm doing too much and I should focus on one of those things.
What's your goal?
To get a strict muscle up. Max challenged me a little over a year ago. No, it was probably more than a year and a half ago to get a strict muscle up. So I've been focusing on that. And then on leg days, I'm trying to get a standing back tuck. So that's why I've been doing a lot of explosive Olympic lifting stuff, because I want to jump higher. And yeah. Okay.
So with your EMOM, I'm curious. So you're starting your workout with the EMOM. What's in your EMOM again?
On one leg day, it'll be cleans. On my hingy leg day, it'll be hang cleans. Yep. On my back day, it's snatches. On my push day, it's split jerks.
Yeah, so you're going more skill-based then. So you're front-loading your workout with a skill-based movement, which is great because under too much fatigue and you try to do something that's that technical because it's very technical movements. Yeah, so you actually front-loading your workout with a skill-based movement is Awesome. That's solid. And then you go into your strength block, which would be fantastic because you want that to be your secondary thing. I would make sure to do some specific things for your muscle up work so you can get that. But then finishing off with hypertrophy. Yeah, solid. And even if you're going to failure and crushing it like that, layout of your workout, yeah, that's totally solid. Because I will do skill acquisition at the beginning of my programming, especially when I program for clients and stuff like that. And if there's a skill that needs to be brought up, then I will front load that, just to make sure that they are more mentally focused and physically able and not as fatigued. So, and then we go into a strength block and then hypertrophy, and we might finish off with some kind of anaerobic conditioning thing. So that's, yeah.
I'm missing that part.
Yeah, that's because it's the hard stuff. That's not
I
fun.
know. Well, I'll do that when I'm cutting.
Yeah, see, and that's okay. And again, periodization and depending on where you're at in your phases, again, there's not one right way to program. There's some wrong ways to do it for sure, but there's a lot of things to consider when you're actually programming for yourself or clients or whoever. So, but yeah, that's pretty solid.
Take toss first. That's what we learned.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And what about recovery? You have to be sleeping like a wolf.
Yeah, so I liked that. Yes, like a wolf. I am really very adamant about my schedule on things. So I've had sleep disorder my entire life, which sucked. But the older I get, the better things get. So I make sure, I go to bed about 8:39 every night, even on the weekends. Like I'm that boring of a person now. And people are like, yeah, PM. Yeah, where they're like, hey, come watch the fights. It starts at 9 p.m. I'm like, I'm going to bed. So I can't. So it's kind of boring, but as long as people want to hang out with me during the day, that's fine. Nighttime, no, because I take it serious. I have goals and I want to achieve my goals, and recovery is huge. And I think that's where, again, with programming, people go wrong with program design because they don't leave room for recovery or how to periodize properly to recover appropriately for things. But so yeah, I go to sleep 8:30, 9 o'clock every night, Monday through Sunday, every single day. I make sure that I am staying hydrated. Again, it's the boring stuff that we're like, oh yeah, I know all that stuff. People know it, but they sure don't do it. It's like, yeah, I know I need to get some more sleep. Well, do it. Why am I performing bad? Why am I not, losing weight and doing X, Y, and Z? Well, you just got done saying you're not really sleeping. You're not eating very well. You're not staying hydrated. You're not doing these things that are going to help you recover and to achieve your goals. So I do my best to stay as recovered as possible, and especially in my program design, to design in a way that I can recover throughout the week, and then, make sure my body stays healthy and injury free. And recovery is a huge part of that. And whether I'm going into the sauna as well, I'll do sauna bouts, especially getting closer to competition. And then I really hate the cold, but I at times will jump in cold things. I don't really like it though. But it helps. It really does. It will help you sleep too. Cold showers before bed. Who likes to do that? No one. Like, because it's not fun. It's not. And I rarely do it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start doing it, all in. And I'll do it. I'll turn it on cold. I'm like, nope. Hot, back to hot. So I try, but I'm really bad at some things. But yeah, also making sure that I warm up really well and properly for my workouts. That's going to help with recovery. Again, a lot of people kind of misstep on their warm-ups, and they either don't warm up and they'll just go right to their lift at lighter loads and think that that's warm up, but there's definitely some better ways to, and that's okay. But you might not recover that well. If that's you, maybe we should talk about warm-ups.
The warm-up is putting on a sports bra. Yeah, no, for sure. I never thought about it as a recovery thing too. I just thought it was injury prevention, but yeah, you're telling me that I'll recover better. I'll start doing it.
Yeah, well, truly, if you don't prepare your body properly to train, then your body's not going to recover properly after training because you haven't prepared it properly. So I'm a big proponent on making sure you're thoroughly warmed up, and warm up often the way I warm up looks like training. So I'll give you a rundown kind of how, now, that I teach for the PPSC, so the Pain-Free Performance Certification course. And the first part of this course is all on warm-ups and how to actually thoroughly and properly warm up. So how I design my warm-ups is first with soft tissue work. So foam roller, right? People know it's like, oh yeah, I foam roll. but there's definitely some ways to foam roll and ways not to foam roll. And a way not to foam roll is to do it for 45 minutes. You don't need that. I foam roll literally for 2 minutes, but I foam roll in specific regions, and I do in a certain way that will actually help you warm up. And it's not just for sake of jumping on a foam roller. So I start with my soft tissue work, and then I follow that up with biphasic stretching of the same tissues that I had just got done foam rolling. So I make sure to pair it with that, because again, it doesn't make sense if I'm going to foam roll my lats and then stretch my quads. It doesn't really make sense, right? It's like peanut butter and jelly. Things go together. So you go through your soft tissue, your foam roll, 2 minutes, 2 minutes of biphasic stretching. And then I go through my third block, which would be my corrective block. So that could, if I know I have a weakness and I need to address that, that's where I address it there. But if I don't, then I will do a general kind of core kind of movement. So let's say a dead bug. I might do a dead bug on my squat day, kind of warming up my anterior core. And then I will follow that up with an activation drill. And then from there, I will do my movement prep series. So if I'm squatting for that day, I'm going to do a body weight squat, and I will tempo that, right? So I will do like a 5-second eccentric tempo down. I might pause it in the hole and then come up explosively. And I might grab a kettlebell and do that for my second round of that in my warm up. And then I follow that up with some kind of explosive movement to tap into PAP, post-activation potentiation. So you do something really fast and explosive with the goal or the intent that you are going to lift weights heavier, right? So it's that contrast training type of thing. So I do that in my warm-ups, and then I go train. So I do a 12-minute warm-up, and I kind of follow suit with that. Each of those blocks is about 2 minutes, and then I go train. And my body stays very well prepared, and it's thoroughly warmed up. My heart rate's up, my blood pressure, everything is like ready to go. And then so, because you start parasympathetic, and throughout the course of that warm-up, you move to a sympathetic state, right? So you go rest, digest, and then move up to fight or flight, and then it's training time. And then post-workout, you want to come back from that sympathetic state back down to a parasympathetic state. And then so recovery breathing is generally what I do there. So I will kind of put headphones on, maybe close my eyes, go to a dark spot in the gym, and I will just do some parasympathetic breathing for 3 to 5 minutes of just nasal breathing, right? Maybe 4 to 6 seconds in, hold it for a couple 6 seconds, and then breathe out for, again, 6 to 8 seconds, something like that. Do that, and you're going to be that much better recovered and going into your next training session. So there you go.
Yeah. I just got to breathe. That's it.
Just breathe. That's all that it's about. Just breathe. Yeah.
Solid. How cool.
Yeah.
I think we already have an idea because you go to bed at 8, but Max, do you want to ask her the one question?
Well, we always ask everyone, and it's nicer with coaches, I guess, because then they can say what they tell their clients. But
Yeah.
the question is, how do you incorporate alcohol into your training?
Well, I don't.
Solid answer.
That's yeah. I was gonna try to
good podcast,
like,
everybody.
Okay.
Sometimes, I mean, occasionally, yes, I will. So I'll be real honest. I have a very colorful past. I know I told you guys some cool stuff, but I've also been in jail a lot, and I've also been in rehab. So, like, I mean, I have a colorful past. So I really that alcohol is not something that I partake in frequently, at least now. Sometimes I still do. I mean, like, I'll go out for a Taco Tuesday every once in a while, and I'm like, that margarita looks pretty damn good. I'm going to go ahead and have a margarita. So
I'm going to throw it over my head.
Right. Throw it over
Is your keg empty by any chance? We can.
Yeah. So it's very seldom that I actually do drink. I just don't find the value personally in it for me, and I don't really get that much pleasure out of it these days like I did back in the day. But I don't dog on my clients if they do. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. You're just a horrible human being. You shouldn't drink alcohol. No, I mean, enjoy life. Like, I mean, but I eat candy. I eat candy a lot too. You know, people are like, whoa, you eat candy? I'm like, yes, I do. I eat Starburst and licorice more often than I would like to admit. But alcohol is not going to be the worst thing in the world, right? I mean, it's going to affect your performance and training, especially if you are a competitive athlete. Then getting close to competition, Like I don't. So if I do like have my margaritas, or I'm on vacation, and I will have I've traveled to Africa and Peru and all these places, and they have specialty beers. I'm like, well, I want to try that,
Yeah.
So I will. But if I am 12 weeks out from a competition, no alcohol for me. Like I won't do it. It's just, it affects sleep, right? Which is one of the biggest things that it impacts. And if you aren't sleeping well, then obviously you're not recovering well, and yada, 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 domino effects. So it's not going to help performance. It's going to negatively impact that performance. So I just let people know that, I'm like, hey, if you're going to drink, just, make sure that either tomorrow or you're staying really hydrated. So I say, try your best to drink as much water throughout that as you can, so you don't feel like as much shit as you're going to if you don't the next day. So I mean,
so
if you're gonna drink. If you're a competitive athlete, ideally don't do it, during your like prep phase for your competition. Again, it's just going to have those little effects. And if you are a highly competitive athlete too, then that's going to haunt you a little bit. If you don't perform well in competition, like, where did I go wrong? Well, you were drinking the whole prep. That's where you went wrong. But for general clients and stuff like that, have your wine, have your drinks, enjoy life. Life is way too damn short. And if there's no reason for you not to drink, if you're not an alcoholic and you didn't get out of rehab for multiple times, then have your drinks, enjoy it. But yeah, I just tell people to be mindful of it, and, know that if you drink on Saturday and we train Monday morning, you might not feel that great Monday morning, because for me, at least, like, hangovers last like a fucking week. I don't know. So that's why I'm like, I don't even want to do that shit anymore. But, it could have several days of a negative effect, when you're drinking. But then there's some people too that, like, in competitions, they'll be in the back room, like, taking shots of whiskey before they go out to deadlift.
Oh yeah,
that's a
Kabuki,
confidence
right?
booster. Yes.
Chris Duffin loved that stuff.
Oh yeah, he's big on that. Yeah. So I mean, again, whatever. Again, I'm not going to knock anyone for drinking, and if they do, cool. Just know that it might impact training, or your goals, depending on what your goals are. So again, yeah.
Okay, final question. Where can we see you dancing in a video?
I have a lot. I'll send you one, actually. I have a few. So it's funny that I actually have, my degree in dance. I was a competitive hip hop dancer. And the only version of dancing that people see from me these days is ridiculous shit. People are like, you should be a mascot, because I dance really weird. I don't even dance like serious. Yes, they're like, you would make a really good mascot. Like
you have a giant head.
I'm legit gonna send you my videos of me dancing in my Grinch costume, because I just do goofy stuff now. I'm just like, do weird. I don't know. My movement's so goofy, but it's entertaining. So I more dance for goofy entertainment these days. I'll make a lot of holiday dance videos that are just, really inappropriate. I might be thrusting a lot in them. Stuff like that, where it's not really like attractive movements. It's like, are you sure you have a degree in dance?
Degree.
So no one really understands. People are like, did you really go to school for dancing? Because you don't look like you did. But I'm going to send you guys some videos of me dancing. You'll be like, okay, she should be a mascot.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for chatting with us. This was awesome.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate your time. And that was fun.
Yeah. And where can the Fitheads find you online and all of that you do?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at IronWolf03. You can find me on Facebook at Tasha WOLF Whelan. You can find me on my website, idealstrength.com. I have a solid programming app there too, if anyone needs some programming. I have about 20 programs on there, so you should check my programming app out. I have them about strength, endurance, fat loss, all that stuff, hikers, whatever. I got you covered. So yeah, or you can shoot me an email at wolf@idealstrength.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much again.
Yes, appreciate you both very much. Enjoy your Monday.
Just and thank you to the Fitheads. If you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts, that helps us out a whole lot. And we'll see you next week.